What's up, everyone? It's Ryan Scott from Lean Labs, and today I want to talk about the 5 types of content that you should be creating because it'll drive a lot of traffic to your website, and then that traffic can become leads, and those leads can become customers. And so I want to give you those 5 types of content that you should be creating today, and I want to give you the templates. So we've got templates that we use, copy and paste over, and it helps us to create these 5 types of content over and over again really quickly, so that we can answer a lot of questions, get a lot of people coming to our website, downloading our ebooks, becoming leads, becoming customers, things like that. So in order to talk about this today, I need to build some context with you. And that context is to understand where these 5 types of content will fit in your overall content strategy. And in order to do that, you need to understand how they're used correctly. So let's talk about the 2 types of content that you can create. You can create thought leadership content, or you can create you ask, we answer content, which is basically SEO content. So with thought leadership is important, and thought leadership works really well. But by nature of it being thought leadership, what you're doing is you're taking the conversation where it is today and you're moving it forward. You're taking it somewhere it hasn't been before. That is the leadership side of the thought, right? You're taking people and you're making them consider things from a different angle. And this is why thought leadership performs really well through social media. It can go viral. People will blog about it and build natural backlinks to it. Thought leadership content is very important. And in the long run, you really need to focus on building some thought leadership content. But where thought leadership content, as a general rule, doesn't perform super well is in building organic traffic. Because if you're really leading in the thought, nobody's searching for that leading thought because you're leading there, right? Nobody's there yet. And so it doesn't perform super well organically. Now, there's always outliers and exceptions to the rules, but as a general rule, thought leadership content performs really great on social, but it doesn't perform that great in organic. On the other side, you ask, we answer content performs very well with organic traffic, and even a long term can drive a lot of organic traffic, but it doesn't perform very well on social. Right? If you're answering someone's question, that doesn't mean that they think everybody else should have that answer too. Somebody's looking for how much does it cost to buy a new toilet. They're probably not going to share that with all their friends and say, hey, look at this great content. But you're still, if you're selling toilets or if you're selling, home remodels or whatever, that could be a valuable piece of content for you to create because it's addressing a question that your potential buyer has. So let's talk about the question and answer content, because whenever someone goes to Google and they enter in any kind of search string, there is a question attached to that, and attached to that question is an underlying problem. So if someone's searching for how much does it cost to build a house, the underlying problem is they're looking to try to build a house, or they're considering building a house, and they're considering all of the things that they need to consider in order to make that decision. So the cost of what it takes to build a house is important to them. So they're searching for that on Google. So the question is, how much is it going to cost me to build a house? The search term that they end is, how much does it cost to build a house? And the underlying problem is that they want to build a house, or they're considering building a house, and they're trying to get all the information together. Knowing the question and the underlying motivation of that question is important, because that will empower you to create the content that that person finds that addresses their question, gives them value, and then if that is relevant, germane to your business, they could become a lead, become a customer. That's the whole game, right? So let's talk about what people do when they come to Google and ask questions. People are people of habit. There are patterns in everything. And where you usually find marketing gold is in the patterns. And what we've discovered over the years is that there's basically 5 categories, 5 different types of questions that people ask Google, regardless of their problem and regardless of their motivation for asking questions. We all ask questions generally the same way, and we've limited those things down. We've categorized them into 5 categories, and that's what we're calling these 5 types of content that you should create. So let's talk about those. And again, I will remind you, at the end of this video, I'm going to share a link with you so you can go and download the templates and you can start cranking out this content for your company as well. The first type of content is content that answers questions around pricing. So how much does this cost? How much does that cost? What's the price of this? people will ask about pricing all the time. And one of the main objections I get from clients when we want to talk about pricing, well, there's two main objections that I get. The first one is we really can't answer that because there's all kinds of variables involved, right? Like if someone asks how to build a house, well, it just depends. Where are you building it? You know, what kind of materials are you wanting to build? How big is it? There's all kinds of variables. You can't just tell someone it's going to cost you $30,000 and then just apply that to everything. Obviously, you can't answer the question, but you can address it and you can say, well, it depends. And here are some of the main things that that impact the price the most. And of course, it's not everything, but you're giving them helpful information. The other reason that people don't want to write about it is because they're worried about talking about their pricing. And this one always kind of makes me laugh, because I talk to clients and they say, well, we don't want to talk about pricing on our website. We want them to talk to us. And so I always ask, well, why don't you want to talk about pricing? And they say, well, we don't want our competitors to understand our pricing, so we keep it secret. And so I go to their competitors, and their competitors also keep their pricing secret. So everyone's hiding their pricing. But when I go back to my client and I say, do you know how your competitor prices? They say, yeah, they do this, 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 and that. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? Because they don't advertise it on their website either. The point being is that no matter if you hide your information or not, your competitor knows how you price. They know all if you're a competitor to them, if you're a danger to them, they're going to know how you price. And so the only person that you're hiding that information from is the customer. And the person that gives that information, your customer is going to look for pricing. If you don't talk about it, they'll look until they find that answer somewhere. And it's either going to be on some third party that doesn't know anything, or it's going to be a competitor that eventually is brave enough to talk about it. And when that competitor does that, they're going to have the option or the chance to build all kinds of trust with that person that nobody else is building. Therefore, they have a much greater chance of becoming that person's provider, and you miss out on it. So don't be afraid to talk about price. And if you can't address it directly, then just address it and let people know what goes into pricing. So if you can't answer it directly, address it. The second type of content is problems. And everybody loves to think that their solution, their product, their service has no problems, but everyone has problems with it. Nobody's perfect. No product is perfect. And a lot of people, they shy away from talking about problems or issues that people have. But if you talk about those, it gives you a chance, again, to build trust with your audience. So if you provide gazebos, you know, those pre-built gazebos, or maybe it's metal sheds or whatever, being able to create the content that says, you know, here's the top 5 problems that people have when they're putting up this metal building. Here's the top issues that people have. When you can talk about that, it doesn't mean that they're going to say, oh, there's issues with his product, but this person over here is perfect. Everybody knows that there's problems with things. But when you're talking about it, you're helping them to solve that or prevent it or whatever. It's building trust, and they understand that they can trust you, that you're not trying to gloss over potential problems, but you're honest and you're helpful. So talk about problems. You'll get a lot of traffic from content talking about problems. If you don't create the content, you can't frame the discussion, you can't frame the information. Somebody else will frame it negative on you. So you might as well control the conversation. The third one is what I call EST articles. And this is kind of how we search about everything, right? We want to know what's best, EST. We want to know what's fastest. We want to know the cheapest. We want to know the easiest. And so when we're searching on Google, if you're a contractor that's building houses, for instance, somebody might look up, you know, who's the best contractor that's building houses in my area, or who's the fastest contractor, who's the cheapest, or they'll ask these questions. And if you can frame all of the questions that people ask, if you can address them in the EST type thing of content, like you know, the top 5 or the 5 best options for basement finishing, whatever it is, use the EST things and you'll get a lot of search traffic from that. The fourth one is reviews. And this is another one that people kind of balk at when you start talking about reviews, is that they don't want to talk about their competitors. They don't want to popularize or give any kind of outlet to their negative reviews or whatever. And so a lot of people, they don't write about reviews at all. They kind of have their case studies or whatever, and they'll highlight their 5-star reviews, but nobody actually creates review content. And I think that's a mistake, because if you're not creating content around reviews, like real customer reviews of your product, if you're not creating that content, you're leaving it up to a third party like Yelp. And on Yelp, you cannot do anything about the conversation. But if you're creating the content where people find you instead of Yelp, then you can frame the conversation, you control it, and you can even take a negative review and tell the story. This is why this customer had the bad experience. This is what they said. This is how we responded. This is how we fixed it. This is how you make sure that you don't have this experience. Turn that into a positive. But if you just respond to a 1-star review on Yelp and you say, you know, we're really sorry about that, everybody does that. And it's just like, oh, they're trying to save face. They're trying to, you know, minimize the damage that this 1-star review is going to give. But if you bring it to your site and you say, hey, look, this is the worst review we've ever gotten, or the 5 worst reviews of whatever, and create that content and be real, you control the frame and you control the perspective of the person that is experiencing that review. And if people come to you instead of Yelp or somebody else, you control that discussion, and it's so much more powerful. The last one is probably one of the most common that I get, and it's comparisons. This versus that. People are doing this all the time. If you look up your brand name, if you're a well-known brand, you're probably going to find people searching for your brand name alternatives, meaning they're looking for an alternative for your solution. If you look up your competitors, they're looking for that as well. If you're competitors and you are very similar and you're both well-known in your industry, you can probably find common searches where people are paying your brand versus your competitor's brand. If you're not creating this content, comparing and contrasting, then somebody else is. And if somebody else is doing it, you don't control the discussion. So I'm not talking about people can see through it a mile away. If you're taking your competitor, you're trashing them and saying they're horrible, but we're great, people are going to think, yeah, right, whatever, you're a jerk. But if you talk about them in a positive light, because your competitor, be honest, your competitor is good for somebody. Your competitor is a better fit for someone that you're not a better fit for. Be honest about that. If you're better than your competitor at X, Y, and Z, say that. And then wherever your competitor is better than you in X, Y, and Z, say that. So that the people that want that can go over there. The people that want this can come over here. And more than likely, the people that are on the fence are going to choose you because you're being helpful and talking about it. But if you don't create that content, they're going to find it somewhere else. And over there, you don't control the discussion. You don't control the framing. So this is one of the reasons why these 5 types of content are so important. Not only are they the most common way that we search Google, but they are the most powerful way of framing conversations so that the people that are looking for your solutions can find you and you have a chance to market to them, sell to them, before they go to a competitor or somewhere else. So again, those are 5 types of content, and you can download the templates that we use to create this content. If you look in the description, I'll post the link down there. But it's 5 types. Again, it's cost and price, it's problems, it's EST articles, reviews, and then comparisons. And what's even better is that you can often combine all of those into one, like this versus that, which is best, this versus that, which is cheapest, or you can say this versus that, real customer reviews. You can mix and match, and it becomes a really powerful way to create content. And if you create this content and you match it with search terms, the way that people are searching, you're going to find that your organic traffic goes up. And with that organic traffic, you should be able to convert more leads. And if you convert more leads and nurture them well, you can turn them into customers. Thank you for watching. I hope that helps you. Don't forget to download those templates. They're very, very helpful. And I look forward to seeing you on our next video. If you liked it, share it and subscribe to our channel. We will see you soon with some more helpful content on marketing. Thank you.